Reserve began its meeting on interest rates. President Trump suggested he could consider demoting Fed Chair Jerome Powell.
Well, let's see what he does. I can tell you that Draghi in the EU, if you look at what's going on with the euro, they have a much different stance than our folks do.
Joel Griffith is a research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Joel, thanks for coming on this morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
The first part of that soundbite, let's see what he does. That's a veiled threat to Jay Powell, is it not?
It can definitely be construed as such, but the bottom line is the chairman of the Federal Reserve cannot be removed without cause. So I think it's safe to say that the chairman's job is safe for now because currently the Federal Reserve is actually doing what it's supposed to do, and that's to maintain a stable credit system and ensure that we do not have a credit crunch.
But, Joel, in such a political environment, the report from Bloomberg that the president explored the legality of potentially firing Jay Powell from his post as chairman of the Fed, we are in a very political environment right now. What can the Fed do to, in one sense, appease the White House and critics there, but also prove to the nation that it's independent of politics here?
Well, the Federal Reserve needs to focus not on pleasing those in politics or politicians in general, but on proceeding forth with its mission. No, it's really, we need to dispense with this notion that Federal Reserve can actually even control interest rates with precision. The fact is the Federal Reserve typically follows the market. We can look back even at this past month. It didn't make so much the media noise, but the Federal Reserve actually lowered the rates that it's paying on the reserves held at the Fed, and that's highly important because if you look back following the Great Recession, the Federal Reserve in effect printed trillions of dollars, bought government bonds, bought mortgage securities, and if that money would have been left in the marketplace, it would have led to inflation. Instead, the Federal Reserve began paying banks to hold extra money on reserve, and now we have a situation where the Federal Reserve, in order to ensure that the banks don't begin saving more money at the Fed, they have to lower those rates.
Yeah.
And that's what the Fed's been doing as of last month on the rate that it pays on those reserves.
It seems like internationally, globally, there's this pressure to ease, this pressure to cut, but there's no playbook or rule book about how to go about doing that. This is very much, and this might be one of the reasons for the tweets from the president against ECB President Mario Draghi, that might suggest the message that the ECB is sending.
Well, the Federal Reserve is in an interesting predicament with trillions of dollars now of excess reserves on hand. If it were to lower the rates that they pay on that too far too quickly, we end up in a situation where those reserves end up lent out into the marketplace.
Right.
The solution to this is to gradually shrink the footprint of the Fed, lower those asset balances so that the Federal Reserve can once again return to its mission and avoid some of these negative economic consequences.
Yeah. All right. Joel Griffith, thank you for joining us this morning. Big topic. We'll see what happens at 2 p.m.
Thanks for having me.